Welcome back to Fox 5 on the Hill Live this Sunday morning. As we have been talking this morning about this unprecedented attack by Iran on Israel, President Biden is set to meet with G7 leaders today to discuss a diplomatic response. We want to bring in our political panel this morning. Niall Stanage is the White House columnist for The Hill, and Laura Davison is a politics editor for Bloomberg. I want to start off with the conversation on the Hill. We have been seeing this back and forth between the Senate and the House over aid for Israel. It had been held up. There were motions in the Senate that didn't quite get off the ground. Laura, how is what has happened in the last 12 hours probably going to change this conversation that's been going on between the Senate and the House?
Well, it's certainly helpful to grease the skids. You know, Congress is, as its nature, just very reactive. This has been held up for months now. It's the Israel aid has been tied to Ukraine aid. You know, Democrats are more in favor of the Ukraine aid. Republicans are a little bit more in favor of the Israeli aid. So packaging that together, you know, has kind of been its downfall. Johnson has already said, Mike Johnson, the House Speaker, said he wants to move forward on Ukraine, you know, starting this week. Having, you know, this news event, and it gives Republicans who are skeptical about Ukraine some political cover, saying, look, they can focus on Israel. They need the aid right now. And that could potentially be a way to get this very fraught deal forward. Now,
the last couple of weeks, the White House has really been trying to push an effort in response to some members of its own party to pressure Israel, talking about a ceasefire. There was a call earlier in the week between Netanyahu and Biden, which we are told once again was, you know, a bit stern. This now changes the calculation. The president coming out with a strong statement of support in defense in Israel. So what does this mean for the White House? How do they appease folks on the left side of the Democratic Party who have been pressuring Israel to wrap up its war in Gaza? But now, in the face of this attack from Iran, the United States has to stand strong with its strongest ally in the Middle East.
Yeah, I think it makes it more difficult for the people on the left of the Democratic Party to be dissenting from the traditional full-throated American support for Israel. Now, there is, of course, a contrary view, which is that Israel launched the April 1st attack in the Iranian consulate in Damascus, and that led to this current phase of escalation. I think we'll hear that emphasized by people on the left, but as a general matter, it, I think, consolidates American support generally behind Israel.
And meanwhile, Ukraine is standing by saying, look, we've been attacked for 2 years now by Russia, and we can't get an aid package through the Congress right now. Would this change any dynamic, or probably make the prospects for a Ukraine package worse now if the attention is solely going to focus, you know, at least in the near future, on Israel?
It really depends sort of how Mike Johnson is feeling in his role right now. You know, can he, you know, get, you know, Republicans on his right flank, you know, who've threatened to oust him, to move forward with this? In both chambers, they're going to need Democratic support to pass this bill in all likelihood, which that, you know, is a vote in favor of having Ukraine as part of this. But it does take the spotlight off of it, though Ukraine is also facing its own, you know, dire situation of going into the summer. They're running out of ammunition. So, you know, the political winds have very much shifted in the past 24 hours. So we'll see, you know, what that means when all the lawmakers get back in the building next week.
That's a tall order for the Speaker, because he's been at pains to try to control members of his own caucus. President Niall today meeting or talking with members of the G7. Obviously, the United States was involved in knocking down, we heard, some 99% of what was fired at them from Israel, from Iran into Israel. Do the G7 leaders at this point need to make a stronger statement of support for Israel, given the fact that some of them have been very critical of Israel over the last few months?
I think really the imperative among a lot of the G7 nations is to try to avoid a further escalation of this situation. Now, we have seen, for example, the National Security Advisor John Kirby today talk about the fact that the United States is not seeking an escalation, but also congratulating Israel on its effectiveness in knocking down these missiles as they come in, and sometimes before they come into its airspace. So I'm not sure that, I mean, there'll be general sympathy for Israel. I think the avoidance of escalation is the key thing.
But you know, when Israel is attacked, throughout history, Israel responds. We should expect that there's going to be a response at some point, shouldn't we?
Should we, though? I mean, I'm not 100% sure that we should, because they could claim the victory at this point by virtue of the efficacy of the defense.
Well, that's what Mike Lyons, you know, said to us a few moments ago, that, you know, do we end it here and Israel can point to its success in knocking down this attack? But at the same time, Benjamin Netanyahu responds forcefully to situations like this. So is the United States or the White House position on this right now? Take the win?
It seems to be, from all the briefings that we're hearing from within the administration, that does seem to be the idea, rather than continue this spiral with unpredictable results.
Yeah, and I want to switch gears quickly here because there's a lot going on that has nothing to do with Israel. Locally, obviously, the conversations about the Key Bridge in Baltimore and the funding for that, there was a high-profile meeting earlier in the week. Maryland Governor Wes Moore and the entire Maryland congressional delegation get together. Does that have wheels on the hill?
It does. I mean, there is a sense that this needs to move forward. However, it's like all of these things. There is a strong faction of people who want to move forward on this, but you need a coalition of the willing to make this happen. Having the skids greased on Israel, potentially on Ukraine, Baltimore, you could wrap that all into one package. Again, though, the more you add to the Christmas tree, the more it weighs it down, and the more that you give reason for someone to object.
Yeah, it was remarkable to see that delegation together. Even the lone Republican, conservative Republican Andy Harris was part of that, and Governor Wes Moore made mention of that. Niall Stanage from the Hill, we appreciate you being here. Laura Davison from Bloomberg, great to have you here. We'll have you back real soon.
Thanks.